We are the restaurant brokers, and we sell restaurants.
We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm over a decade ago.
Atlanta, Georgia was our starting point, but our brand is spreading nationwide. We define restaurant brokerage and help buyers just like these.
Our dream, our goal, open up a restaurant, loving life, serving people breakfast and lunch, and then enjoying the rest of the day with them and ourselves.
Buying an existing restaurant, leasing a closed restaurant space, or purchasing a restaurant franchise, we help buyers satisfy their appetite for acquisition.
I'm part of a husband and wife team with this fella.
Working with my wife has been a lot of fun. The ultimate goal for everybody here is to make this work. And because we have different strengths, we bring different angles to the deal.
The process begins with our powerhouse website, WeSellRestaurants.com, where buyers sign online confidentiality agreements and browse restaurants for sale.
Then we send buyers undercover to check out a restaurant and decide if it's the right one for them.
Buyers get our proprietary business analysis tool with all the financial details on the business for sale.
After studying the restaurant inside and out, it's back to our office.
We are deal makers. We write contracts and negotiate terms for buyers and sellers. That's why we sell more restaurants than any other firm in the nation. We are the restaurant brokers. Our name says it all. I'm Robin Gagnon.
And I'm Eric Gagnon, and we sell restaurants. We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm, We Sell Restaurants, over a decade ago. You can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com.
We're also on your radio once a week with the leading authorities in the restaurant industry talking about subjects trending in the business. Tweet your own questions while we're on the air. You can catch us on our Twitter handle. It's @SellRestaurants. Post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. If we don't get to your questions, we will definitely follow up on our social media channels.
Our goal is to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. If you have any ideas or any comments for the show, you can email me. My email is Eric, E-R-I-C, @WeSellRestaurants.com.
Today, we're talking Southern cuisine. That's right. Perfect for this Southern belle. We are going to talk about everything from Cajun to Creole flavors to barbecue favorites and Southern recipes. We're finding out what defines Southern cuisine from the comfort, the flavors, and the taste. We have 3 comfort food specialists here to dish on what makes Southern cuisine a favorite far beyond that Mason-Dixon line.
And to start out today, our first guest is Felicia Willet, the owner of Felicia Suzanne. With all Southern charm you'll find at Felicia Suzanne, it won't come as a surprise that chef owner Felicia Willett culinary career was inspired by the big traditional Southern dinners that she grew up helping her grandmothers Lovis make. That early exposure to good Southern food was only the start of her career that eventually led to her training from 8 years under chef Emerill Lagasse. Felicia is the co-author of 2 of his New York Times best-selling cookbooks, Every Day's a Party and Emerill's TV Dinners, and was a producer of his Good Morning America segment. Felicia draws inspiration from the places from her past. She says that when you dine at her restaurant, Felicia Suzanne's, you're going to taste the true South. We use only locally sourced ingredients whenever possible. Her expertise in local food has led to the creation of her product line called Flo's Homemade Goodness. Felicia is an ambassador for the Memphis and Tennessee culinary community. She has participated in the Memphis Barbecue Winemaker Dinner. Memphis Goes Hog Wild in Oregon. West Comes East. 2 James Beard's dinners. Her experience constantly fuels inspiration for her Southern menu and new Flo's product. Felicia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Our next guest is Steve Frabitore. Since purchasing downtown Asheville's iconic restaurant, Tupelo Honey Café, in 2008, Frabitore has directed all restaurant operations and driven really what's explosive growth for the brand. Since 2010, he has opened additional locations in Asheville, Knoxville, Tennessee, Greenville, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Charlotte, North Carolina. In 2014, he opened in Johnson City and Raleigh, and he has 5 more locations planned for 2015, including Myrtle Beach, Arlington, and Virginia Beach, along with our hometown favorite, Atlanta. Under Frabitore's leadership, the restaurants have been successfully integrated with state-of-the-art recipe mapping programs and POS systems, delivering actionable information with ease of use and expandability. His systems ensure complete understanding of food cost and menu pricing, leading to key metrics that place his restaurants above the top quartile of all restaurants in a similar check average, according to the NRA Restaurant Operations Report. Prior to his role as president of Tupelo Honey Café, Frabitore's extensive 16-year career in consumer products included companies like Procter & Gamble, Tam Brands, and Empire Barral. Frabitore is married to his college sweetheart, has 4 boys, and graduated from Florida State University, where he also, catch this, caught trapeze and walked the 7-man pyramid on the high wire in the Flying High Circus. Frabitore was named North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging's Restaurateur of the Year in 2012. Steve, we are so glad you've joined us today on the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Good. And completing our panel today of the Southern Specialty Cuisine is Chef Jeff McInnis, a Top Chef finalist. Jeffrey McInnis was born either a fish or a cook. Growing up on a fishing boat around Niceville, Florida by 16, McInnis was peeling shrimp, cutting fish, and cooking on the line at the Marina Cafe. Long southern summers working his grandparents' Alabama farm further stoked his passion for fresh local food. McInnis attended Johnson & Wales University. After graduation, he traveled, going from a position at a Caribbean Asian Asolaire in St. John's, Virgin Island, to the Asian French Aziz, San Francisco, to rural Virginia Keswick Hall. A post under Norman Van Aken at Norman's took him to Miami and ultimately the Libido Beach Club, where he won a 2008 StarChefs.com Rising Star Award. When McInnis cooked his way into the finals of Top Chef, his already widespread acclaim went national. In 2010, he became the executive chef of the Miami-based Gigi, and in 2001, he was nominated for People's Choice Best New Chef by Food & Wine. With so much success, McInnis returned to his roots, becoming chef partner of Yardbird Southern Table and Bar in Miami, where both chef and restaurant received James Beard nomination. Chef Jeff McInnis recently opened Root & Bone restaurant in New York City. Both Yardbird and Root & Bone serve traditional Southern fares. Jeff, welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Wow, great resumes from all of you Southern-inspired cuisine specialists, and all of you have your fair share of experience. So tell me this, and Jeff, let's start with you. What exactly makes Southern food Southern? Is it the spices or the tradition?
That's a good question. I mean, Southern food to me is my roots, and it's food that I've been eating and living with for, since I was born. So it comes pretty natural to, I think, probably everybody on the panel. It's pretty natural. So Southern food to me is cooking comfortable and being able to cook what's around you. And, I'm in New York City right now, but it's easy for me to find all the ingredients I grew up with. I actually found some amazing grits up here in New York. I was beside myself when I found them, but it's a place called Trumansburg. But I think it's important to find the right ingredients, stay true to your roots, and cook what's right. I think you brought up the word traditional, and that is important. A lot of chefs, whenever they're cooking food from their roots today, they'll step outside the box and maybe tweak a recipe or change something. But I think it's important that we always remember the tradition and why fried chicken or why shrimp and grits or why some of these staples became classics. So I think when you're cooking Southern food, you need to pay respects to the classics, pay respects to the original technique before you go changing anything up too much.
Felicia, what do you think about it? Is this along the same lines? I mean, a lot of believers like everything in the South is fried, but that's not true at all, right?
No, and I think the other chefs on the panel probably agree with me. There's a big movement towards vegetables today, and I think we're all pretty excited about it. I'm blessed to live here in New York, where we have a lot of amazing farmers markets, especially right now during this time of year with the fall that's come out. There's so many amazing vegetables, and we've called our restaurant Root and Bone for a reason. We think about half of the menu into the vegetarian side of things, and we're real excited to showcase a lot of these vegetables coming out right now. And no, we do not fry all of them.
So, Felicia, weigh in for us. What do you think makes Southern food? Is there a little bit of soul in every dish served up in a Southern restaurant?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of Southern cooks, especially the ones on the panel, it's just part of your DNA. It's part of what you grew up with, and it's sort of ingrained, into your head with when I'm making biscuits or fried chicken. It goes back to some memories of being with my grandmother or being with my mom in their kitchens. And I grew up in a large family, and everyone brought something to the table. Even, during the holidays and special occasions now, everyone goes, oh, you must have to make everything because you're the cook in the family. I'm like, oh, no. We all have our dishes that we bring, and it's time spent. I sort of, it's not just, I'm blessed because I do have a restaurant, but I'm actually enjoy the cooking. And a lot of Southern cooks, they take the time, and it's the storytelling, and it's where they got the chicken or what market, who's the farmer, how the items were grown. And it's just sort of as the South is probably known for, a little slower pace. But I think with Southern food, it's really the respect of the ingredients and the process of the cooking techniques. And, yes, there are a lot of fried items, but not everything is fried. And, fried food's not necessarily bad. It's where's the chicken from? How are you processing it? What are you frying it in? And how many times a week or a day are you eating them? Everything in sort of moderation. I mean, I do a lot of fried food, and I always tell my customers, if you're going to eat fried chicken, come eat it with me. I know where that chicken came from. I know how it was processed. I know my farmers, and I know the type of oil and the respect that I'm paying to the chicken. So, it's personal. Every dish that I teach with my cooks, or when I'm in classes, or, just at home, it's the respect and the tradition of each of those dishes. And, the South has a lot of great products, and they're simple. No one's really reinventing the wheel. It's just really what they're sort of reinventing is paying homage and respect to these ingredients.
Sure. And Steve, I'd like to, you're not a chef, so I want to know your perspective on that, and what are your thoughts on the subject?
Hey, don't pick on me now. I'll tell you, I'm humbled to be in the company of these two great chefs. It's wonderful to hear from them. For me, I think that Southern food is really a great canvas, and it provides a sense of place for us. That's the Mountain South, so we bring a lot of our Appalachian spirit of independence and Asheville's creativity and consciousness around food and where it comes from to the plate. And I think it's the influences really across Southern food that make it such a vibrant opportunity for great chefs. And you've got Western European influence, you've got African influence, others that really provide kind of that very tasty base fried chicken, as it was mentioned, that can be tweaked. So I think that, and it kind of rings in my head to traditional Southern, and I think that today, with the talent of these chefs and the ingredients available, that traditional Southern is morphing into a very vibrant and eclectic cuisine, and it differs, across the South.
I think that's a great point. And, Jeff, you're in New York City putting forth this Southern cuisine. It's really considered comfort food and has this basis around family and coming together. Is that sense of hospitality part of what you are kind of placing into your food and into the atmosphere at your restaurant there, way up south of the north of the Mason-Dixon Line?
Right. It's, I'm blessed to say that it hasn't been a challenge. That I think Southern food is becoming embraced everywhere. Everywhere you go today, you're starting to see great Southern restaurants in cities that typically, I guess, you wouldn't think you would see great Southern restaurants. And little area of Brooklyn, Williamsburg, there's a lot of Southern places that have popped up. And Southern food, I guess, is a pretty broad term because you've got Creole, like you said. You've got several different forms of barbecue. You've got the Low Country and Gullah cuisine, and then you've got just good old Southern food like I grew up with in South Alabama. And we decided to stick our restaurant on basically focusing on vegetables and fried chicken. And there's not anybody out there that doesn't eat chicken, so we're lucky, And I think the day we opened, we had some of we were blessed. I think that everybody kind of looked at us as a neighborhood restaurant. It's not, and I'm not saying anything bad against any other cuisine, but if you open a high-end French classical restaurant or something along those lines, I guess it's easier for you to be put in the category of, well, that's going to be a little bit fancier. Maybe I need to put a jacket on before I go in, and maybe it just when you go into a southern restaurant, I think people kind of relax a little bit, maybe let their guard down a little bit, and just let the food kind of come and eat it naturally. It's not pretentious food. It's fun food to eat. It's family oriented. I think 99% of southern restaurant I've ever been in, they serve the food family style, so there's a lot of sharing, a lot more interaction and talking, and it's just a real welcoming way to eat. And
Felicia, I want to talk to you because you work with Chef Emerill Lagasse, and he's got a lot of French influence, and I know that Louisiana is part of it. But how is that integrated with the Southern flair that you're putting together? How did that combine?
Well, I think when there's French cooking has its place at the table because it was what was sort of instilled in you in culinary school, and that was sort of my beginning background. What's so great about the South is that you could take the classic Southern or the classic French cuisine and the simple techniques, and you will find them across the South in various kitchens. And being in New Orleans, I went from Arkansas to Charleston, South Carolina, over to New Orleans, and they took those simple techniques, but then implemented what ingredients were in the area. And when you speak about the South and with cuisine, regional cuisine, versus like up north or California, the South is so vast. Everyone is welcome to the table, and they all bring these sort of based on, I think, what state or region you grew up or live in, and the ingredients are kind of the same throughout the South as far as seasonal, and we all sort of various things start to come in Tennessee and Mississippi and Alabama, maybe Florida a little first and Louisiana, but then they move their way up to, Tennessee. And it's with the region of the South, I think it's just so vast. I saw a lot of that in New Orleans because there were so many different, it wasn't just Creole and Cajun. They have a huge Hispanic population, and you see that cooking, especially in the ingredients that are at the market, some of the more casual restaurants, and you see that coming up from Louisiana up through the Delta into Tennessee and Arkansas. And being in New Orleans, it just opened my eyes to so many different cuisines that were in the South. And I think that's what makes this area so great, because it's so diverse.
So, Steve, let's talk a little bit about the business side of things, because you actually came from outside of the business. You had a whole different skill set that you've now brought and applied to the restaurant industry, and you've really been able to grow this concept, Tupelo Honey. Tell us, how did you become a restaurateur, and how are you bringing that past professional experience in? And then I want to get Jeff to weigh in on how that he's become a successful restaurateur, and then maybe Felicia as well.
Well, that's a great question. We really wanted to live in Western North Carolina and finish raising two of our four boys in a different climate than South Florida, where we came from. And this is a tourist-based economy in Asheville, and when you start, looking for work, we all got to work. There was really nothing in the sweet spot unless it was tied to tourism, meaning restaurants and B&Bs, etc. So I really didn't have a disposition towards, a lifelong passion of wanting to open a restaurant. But obviously, since I purchased one, my passion is immense for the business. I think just, serving people to me and making people happy and content is there's something very fulfilling right down to the core, about that. And I think that I was very fortunate to have such a great chef in Brian Sinauskas, who's been with the company for 14 years. When I first bought that restaurant, Brian was able to keep the operations running while I dug into the guts of what really makes the restaurant work. and what makes it profitable. You've got to be profitable to pay people well, to create opportunity, to buy the finest ingredients, etc. So, we kind of worked like two pistons in an engine there for a while, and then we kind of switched places. I was able to learn the restaurant operations from him, and he was able to learn the business side of actually running the business of a restaurant from me. So that partnership, has worked out very well, and many of the traditional or many of the concepts that you would apply to any business certainly apply to the restaurant industry as well.
Good.
Great.
And Jeff, how about you? What's the secret to make your restaurant Root and Bone so successful?
Goodness, I think I think your staffing is very important. We make everything by hand, and I think the most important thing in a restaurant is to be genuine and to really show the guest that there's care and love behind the food and in the service. So we don't cut corners when it comes to staffing. I've been blessed to have a lot of guys follow me. I cooked in Charleston, South Carolina for a very long time. I cooked in Virginia and a couple other places, and we didn't have the easiest time when we opened finding the perfect staff, and I wound up having a lot of my sous chefs and managers and people come that I've worked with for over the past 10 years come up and give me a hand, and they've moved here, and I've been lucky enough to find good help. And we're a restaurant that makes all our bread in-house, all our desserts, every sauce, everything is made in-house. So if you don't have somebody behind that cutting board with you that's really dedicated and really showing that they care and putting love in the food every day, then it's gonna show. You're gonna taste it. And we did some heavy training months prior, standardizing the recipes and really talking about the techniques. Southern Food, believe it or not, has some pretty intense techniques. People think, it's just a biscuit, but it's just as important as the technique is making a croissant.
That's heresy. It's just a biscuit. My grandmother would argue with that.
Yeah.
So would I.
There's techniques that if you get them wrong, they don't taste right. They don't taste authentic, and we strive every day to get perfection. And I think that just because it's Southern food, people maybe let their guard down because it's not classical French or something like that. But in a way, it is. It's the same exact standards, and we drive it, and we've hired a good staff. And the other thing I'd say is ingredients. I've been shopping for great Southern ingredients for the past 15, 20 years as a professional, and you can easily find yourself in the wrong city without being able to find the perfect ingredients and get yourself in a situation to where, God forbid, you don't have stone ground grits and you wind up with something subpar polenta on the menu or something. I think you get called out on it pretty quick. So, we've been lucky enough to have the right staff and the right ingredients. I think that goes a long way.
Great. Well, we are having a wonderful discussion with a Southern specialist. We are joined by Steve Frabitore from Tupelo Honey Café, Felicia Willet, who also owns her own restaurant, and the incomparable Jeff McInnis. We will be back after a short break, and as we continue to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon. We're the Restaurant Brokers. Find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com. Please take a minute, like us on our Facebook page. We're at Facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. Of course, our Twitter handle's @SellRestaurants, and we're on LinkedIn as well. We'll be right back after this short break.